Thank you for joining me today here on the Firearms Cafe. I'm your host, Tony Brown.
Do you have any weapons, any guns?
The best, but we won't need them.
I'm glad to hear it. I want one anyway.
Hello everyone and welcome to the introductory episode of the Firearms Cafe podcast. Firstly, I'd like to thank my family for supporting me in this endeavor. The shows, as I have found, take a lot of time from start to finish. So again, a big thank you to my family for their support. I also need to thank Mark at Gun Rights Advocate and Gun Rights Radio for all his help. Without going into too many long, boring details, Mark has made it possible for the show to go out much sooner than would have been had I been left to my own devices. I'm not the most tech-savvy guy in the world. So the answer to the question, why do a show? I feel I'm a pretty average guy. I don't make my living in the gun world. I'm not what I consider to be really deep into gun culture. I do, however, feel that I have some things to say and that there are lots of other people out there who are very similar to me and that I'll be able to relate to. Now, a little background about me. I'm a former probation officer. I worked in the juvenile division, and that meant that I dealt with kids from age 8 to right before their 18th birthday. And I'll probably do a show a little bit later about some of my experiences with that job. I was in court a lot, so I have a lot of experience with how courts work and how it's different than from what you see on television. I'm an NRA member. I have my concealed carry permit, and I also belong to a local gun range, and I currently reside in Arizona. As a kid, I lived in Oklahoma, and I grew up hunting and fishing. And my family mostly hunted birds and rabbits and sometimes squirrels, things like that. And we used, primarily shotguns. I got my first shotgun at the age of around, I think I was about 10, maybe 11. My dad had bought me a 20 gauge pump. Now this thing was great big, and it was what I call a duck gun. It was way too big for me. I don't even know if there were what is now called youth model guns, back when I got my first one. Now I shot the thing a few times and it didn't go too well. The gun it was just too big for me. It was too hard to hold and work the pump, and the recoil was too much. And I was a pretty skinny kid, and the gun probably was bigger than me. But anyway, after a few more poor outings, my dad decided that maybe I could try a little bit different gun. So he bought from a pawn shop a 410 bolt shotgun, and that held I think about maybe 3 in the internal magazine. Now it was a lot smaller, and it had a lot less recoil, and I could work the bolt and I could hold it, and the weight was fine, and that was just a really good starter gun for me. Living in Oklahoma, it was not uncommon, especially around hunting season, to see guys that had their rifles or shotguns in the gun rack, in the back window of their truck. No one thought anything about it, and for the most part, no one took the guns out of another guy's truck, and that was just something that really wasn't done. Now, I'm sure there were thefts, but it was rare. In fact, I never heard of any. Oklahoma, was and is still a pro-gun state, and there really weren't many restrictions there at all. When I was around maybe 12 or so, we moved to Arizona, and I've pretty much lived there here since. Arizona is a great place to live. It's good for gun owners and gun rights, but we still have to be alert and aware of what's going on. Lots of the junk, basically, that passes in California is tried here soon after. So, but most of the time that stuff just doesn't fly here. So, an example would be they try to do the lead ban on ammo. Now, as I got older, I got away from hunting and was doing mostly target shooting and shooting at clay pigeons or shooting clays. There were nothing like going to organized matches, but my friends and I would go out into the desert and shoot clay targets, or we'd set up little cardboard targets and shoot at them. Now, of course, that's getting a lot harder to do now than it was back then, as there's just more and more of the open public lands are being developed. But like I said, kind of getting back to earlier topic, I recently joined the NRA. And part of the reason was that I felt I needed to start doing my part. And step one was to join up. And the reason that I didn't join sooner was that for me, you know, when you grow up and live in a really pro-gun state, you really don't see the importance of it near as much as if you lived in or around, you know, places like DC or Wisconsin or Chicago. As far as the NRA goes, every member helps and every member counts. The NRA is a very powerful lobby, you know, for us, for gun rights. And even if you don't agree with everything they do, join up so you can have a say in what goes on and what the agenda may be. Now, you can't change what you don't like about it if you have no voice in the organization. So that, you know, alone would be, you know, one reason to join. Kind of getting back to why I do the podcast, for me, the reason to do the show is to try and do my part to support gun rights and to try and get the message out there that gun owners are just, you know, regular people. If you want to go to my site, it's Firearms Cafe, and that's all one word. And there's not much there now, but if you go to the links page, I put up a lot of links to other podcasts and some gun sites as well. If you'll go over to Mark's site, which is gunrights.us, you can click on the Gun Rights Radio Network icon, and from there you can go and sign up on the forums. Now, for those of you who don't know what a forum is, I'll do a really kind of just a general overview. A forum is a site that you can go to and have discussions on a particular topic. Forums can be about anything, not just you know, about guns and gun rights. So the way that a forum works is that once you join up, you can ask questions or make comments, or make a comment. These are usually called topics. You can also give answers to those questions or to those comments, and those are called, usually will be called a reply. So let's say that I started a topic on what's a good concealed carry holster, you know, for people to wear, and then people would give me their opinions or their replies, and then you could have discussions back and forth on what you think are good points and bad points about them. And those discussions are called a thread. Now, most forums allow you as a non-member to look at the different threads, so to look at those different questions and answers. Now, unless you have joined up to a particular forum, you'll only be able to read, you know, those questions and answers, and you won't really be able to add to the discussion. So you won't be able to add your opinion to the topics or give your replies. Now, the forums are generally free. There are some out there that are pay, but Gun Rights Radio Network forum isn't going to be one. It'll be free. And the way to join, if you want to join, is you go to gunrights.us, click on, again, the Gun Rights Radio Network icon, and you'll see a thing that says forums. You click on that, and it'll ask you, you'll see on the right hand part of the page, you'll see a thing that says register. What you do is you click on that, it'll ask you for a username. Now, the username can be anything you want. It doesn't have to be your name. So for instance, mine is Armed Ape, and then it's going to also ask you for a valid email address. And once you type that in, you'll choose a password, and then you'll also type in a code at the bottom. And the reason that they're asking for an email address and for you to type in the code at the bottom is that's done to make sure that you're a real person and that you're not what they call like a spam robot. Now most all forums are going to have rules, and basically they're all pretty similar. You agree not to be, you know, abusive or to use foul language or to post any type of you know, sexually explicit material. You know, so a good line is just pretty much keep it civil and treat others as you would like your, you know, like your mom to be treated if she were on that forum. Let's talk a little bit more about keeping it civil. Now, you know, I know everyone is not going to have the same opinion that I do. And if someone disagrees with me, that's fine. But there's no need to attack somebody or to say how stupid they are, or they don't know what they're talking about. That type of thing is just not necessary. If you do disagree with somebody, state your reasons. And, if you need to, at the end, just say, well, we're not going to see eye to eye on this. Let's just agree to disagree on this. There are some people out there who, once they get behind that keyboard, can be very cruel and very mean-spirited. I feel they do this because there's no one there in front of them, and they feel really emboldened. So, well, anyway, bottom line, no one likes a bully, so don't be one on the forum. Now one more thing. We as people, kind of in the gun rights community, we like to give advice, and we like to help out because we all see ourselves as good guys. And this just applies to forums in general. Just be careful of the things that you read, and especially of any legal advice that is given. Never, 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 never take any legal advice off of any forum as gospel. If you have any legal questions, you need to seek advice from a local self-defense lawyer, because that guy's going to be familiar with the gun laws in your area. Now, they can be pricey, but it'll be worth the money spent for a couple hours of their time. Most lawyers are going to charge you probably around about $300 an hour. If this is a big concern, that you want to get legal advice, but the money is going to be an issue, you may be able to split the cost with some friends. I may do a mini show on this in the future. Anyway, remember to visit gunrights.us for lots of good links and info. And, while you're there, go ahead and join up on the forums. Also, if you want to send me an email, you can drop me a line at firearmscafe@gmail.com. And if you want to see my website, like I said, there's not much there now, but you can go to firearmscafe.com. Also, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Mark, to Mick, Ken, Sean, Matt, and all the rest of the guys over there at Gun Rights Radio for inspiring me to finally kind of get on the stick and do a show. Well, I'll sign off for now, and thanks for listening to the Firearms Cafe podcast. I'll talk to you soon.